Doe. 7 days. We're back again for another episode of Dominant Effect. Marsh Bishop, got Mike Ball, Aaron Olinger. What's up, everybody? Glad you were able to tune in again this week. We got another interesting show. We're gonna go down quite a bit of information. Um, Hopefully to give everybody a little bit of understanding as to what's going on. Um, in the meantime, as we're going through this, hit that like button. That's what gets us out on the right algorithm. And also the ones that's on my side, I got a poll on there. Hit that poll. Answer yes or no to the question that I'm answering on there. And I'm gonna see what that is at the end of the evening. So so as we know, just here recently, here in the past, 45 minutes to an hour, the U.S. and Iran appear to have a new agreement. Um, Supporters say that this could prevent a major Middle Eastern war. Critics also say that it gives Iran exactly what it wants. We're going to go back and forth with that. And of course, Israel is very openly skeptical about these arrangements, and they're in total disagreement. So we're going to discuss that as well. Um, Oil markets are watching every headline that's going on right now, and millions of Americans are asking basically the same question. Is this a real peace agreement, or is this just another delay tactic before the next crisis? So tonight, we're going to break down this proposed agreement, how this differs from the JCPOA, why Israel is so concerned about it, where the money could and is coming from, who wins, who loses, and whether this deal is actually a good deal. Does it actually have a chance to be a full-fledged agreement? So this new agreement is not currently a full nuclear agreement like the JCPOA. Instead, it appears to be the framework designed to create a path towards a larger agreement. So the primary objectives appear to be ending active military escalation, keeping the Strait of Hormuz open, stabilizing the energy markets, preventing a direct war between the U.S. and Iran, and creating this negotiation period. So think of this less as a final contract and more of a agreement to keep talking.
Yeah.
So the framework reportedly established a 60-day negotiation where both sides would work towards resolving a lot of the major disputes between both. If you remember, before there was a 10-point, and then there was a 12-point. You know what I mean? So they done went back and forth on this, and they end up with a 14-point agreement that we're going to go through here in a few minutes. So the U.S. wants restrictions on Iran's nuclear program, but Iran wants sanction relief and economic access. The problem is neither side fully trust each other to actually come through with a bona fide plan. So to me, this seems like, okay, we're gonna agree to this for 60 days, see how it works. If it works out, then we would do something. We'll do an actual bigger plan. If not, then this is out the door, and we're right back to square one again.
Yep. Exactly.
So we're gonna jump into what this 14-point program is. This so the first one we have is the end of the war. Okay, so the U.S. and Iran agreed to preliminary or permanently end all military hostilities, including the conflict connected in Lebanon. Number two is sovereignty. Both sides agreed to respect each other's sovereignty and avoid interference in internal affairs, meaning stay out of my business, I'm going to stay out of yours. Number three, you got a 60-day navigation window, and a final agreement must be negotiated within those 60 days, with extensions possibly have a neutral decision to actually prolong that 60 days, but they're shooting right now for to have everything done within those 60 days. 4, Strait of Hormuz. Iran agrees to reopen commercial shipping. Traffic is expected to return to pre-war levels within 30 days, and passage is to be toll-free during the negotiation period. Now, we're going to dig into that after we finish reading this because,
Right.
now we're talking about, okay, you're going to open up the strait and you're not going to toll anybody for this 60 days, but what transpires after that 60 days?
Correct.
I mean, so we're going to jump into that here in a little bit. We're going to go through all these points right now. Number 5 is the future of a Bush administration. Says the U.S. will end its naval blockade associated with the conflict. Iran will negotiate with Oman and Gulf states regarding the future administration and maritime services of the strait under the international law. This is a section that, like I said, that's creating questions about the tolls and service fees and whatnot. 6, which a lot of people have been commenting about, $300 billion development plan. The U.S. and partners will pursue a reconstruction and economic development program, reportedly valued at least $300 billion if a final deal is reached. We're gonna get into that as well and explain exactly where this money is coming from. 7, sanction roadmap. Broad sanction relief is contemplated in a final agreement during the 60-day period. Sanction waivers will allow Iranian oil exports and related banking, shipment, and insurance services. Number 8, the nuclear issue. Iran reiterates it will not build a nuclear weapon. The future of uranium enrichment and enrichment uranium stockpiles is left for the final negotiations. Number 9 is a status quo during talks. So basically, Iran freezes the current status of its nuclear program, while the U.S. agrees not to impose new sanctions and deploy additional forces. Number 10, oil exports resume. Treasury waivers allow Iranian crude and petroleum exports during this interim period. 11, the U.S. commits to making Iranian frozen funds available under agreed procedures. This is a section tied to a reported $24 to $25 billion in frozen access.
You just kind of went out there, but that was $24 to $25 billion that is supposed to be
that's what
frozen.
It flipped out. Yeah, that's what I said. But okay, 12. Monitoring mechanism, a joint implementation of compliance mechanisms will be created. 13. Final negotiations begin once key implementation steps start. Negotiations on the final agreement will begin. And 14. The final agreement is intended to be endorsed through a binding UN Security Council resolution.
Right.
So we'll jump into this 300 billion first, because that's what a lot of people that's what they've been basically broadcasting, just 300 billion. So the document says that a plan for at least 300 billion will be developed, but it's at one point it wasn't explained exactly who contributes from that amount, and that's one of the biggest questions that everybody was having. So that fund basically comprises of a lot of the countries in that area were all contributing to this fund. And it's basically a rebuilding fund, basically to rebuild what it was that was hit. Now, me personally, I think that fund, if you doing a fund that way, it shouldn't actually go solely to them. I think it should be distributed to any country that took a loss. I mean, because I think you had a bunch of airports that got hit. You got a lot of school, universities, stuff like that was hit.
Kuwait, Bahrain,
other countries. Right, exactly.
You
So
name it.
I don't think that should be an actual amount that should be given to them per se. I think that should be something that was, it could be generated and then dispersed according to the needs of any country that was hit
Affected.
during that time. Right. What do you think?
I think that's a way better way to put it than what is being put, because it's going to be essentially all to Iran, like you're saying here. I think you're right that it should go throughout the region, but also you got to remember a lot of that money is actually from the region as well. So that's kind of like the thing about that whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd like to add to that. That 300 million to me is war reparations. Basically, Iran is letting everybody know that they won this war, and all the countries that they bombed, all the GCC countries, and Israel and everybody else has got to pay them to get out of this with them. So you're basically paying war reparations here, and I'm not too cool with it because they didn't care who they shot at, including civilian targets. They shot at more civilian targets than anybody did, and nobody shot back at their civilians. So it kind of irks me that they got the nerve to be asking for war reparations at this time, as though they're the victor.
Yeah,
But I'll stop there.
And that's essentially that money, if this goes through, would be released to them, not through the MOU, but actually through the end of the peace deal, if it gets to that point where they negotiate the nuclear aspect, because that's going to be the part that the IRGC is going to not bow down to. And the only bow down that they're going to do, any concessions that the IRGC is going to make, is whether they get paid. You know what I mean? And the only other option would be regime change. And that regime change, in my opinion, doesn't need to be done with us. It needs to be done within their own country.
Mm-hmm. Right. Before we jump into this part about the Strait, because that's another big thing that we're gonna be talking about. If you've been listening to a lot of the mainstream here in the past 2 weeks since they've been talking about this, and you've been hearing a lot dealing with the JCPOA and this deal here. And they were comparing these deals, saying, well, okay, well, if you would have kept this deal here, you wouldn't have had to worry about this, back and forth. Now, that really depends on exactly what it is you're looking for as to whether you can use that assumption. Because the JCPOA was set up in 2015, there was no issue dealing with the Strait. There was no issue dealing with regime change or anything like that. This was strictly a nuclear deal. Where you had it was based on this deal based on not being able to enrich uranium beyond a certain point, centrifuge limitations. You had inspection requirements, nuclear stockpile limits. You had sanction relief that went along with that. Now, that was also agreed upon, not just by the U.S., but it was also agreed upon by the NATO nations, Russia, and China. They all agreed on this, on that particular thing. Now, if this was just an agreement dealing with nuclear, then yes, you can put these two together and kind of compare them. But it's not.
It never seems to go that way, right? It's multiple things, layers.
Right. This is dealing with a lot more than that. You know what I mean? And when I've been watching a lot of these shows here for the past week, and you keep hearing them bringing this up because it seems like, like now in 26, everything being blamed on Obama. Okay. For some reason, I keep hearing Obama's name like 28,000 times in a day. This has nothing to do with the nuclear part. Now, is the nuclear part going to be into this agreement? Yes. the JCPOA was strictly for nuclear. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Had nothing to do with anything else that was on there. You know what I mean? So then you hear them talk about, well, you know, they gave them $150 billion and blah, 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 blah. $150 billion didn't come from you. $150 billion came from frozen asset. Same 2024 to 25 that we're talking about now that they're going to get frozen. These are frozen accounts. That wasn't just from the U.S. They were in various countries that they were frozen. So the U.S. did not write them a check for $150 billion. So get that shit out your head. That is not what happened. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's
You're right.
I think that's one of the things that's going on now. You have people that be on there talking and they don't tell the truth about it. They make it seem like that it was all this thing and we just gave all these people this money. No, you didn't. You gave it back. It was already there. You know what I mean? It was just
the only thing that we
out.
did do originally was give them cash. We gave them cash. What was it? $1.8 billion or whatever it was. And people were complaining about that. And it's like, well, I mean, I understand, but what's the difference between if it's a wire or if it's on you know, if you ship it through a 747 or something like that? And that's exactly what they did do. Well, Obama did, which I'm not even being hypercritical of. I mean, that to me at this point, it sounds like a drop in the bucket. But you know, I'm just looking at it objectively.
Right. Okay, so take that 1.8, but look at what we're giving away now. You're getting ready to, you're getting ready to give her what 300 plus on one end, another 24, 25 on this end. You know, in some ways, like what Aaron was saying, you know, you would think like, okay, why is all this money being put out there? You know what I mean? Now, you know that, of course, yes, they done took a major hit over there economy-wise. They done took a hit. So, of course, they're going to have to, when you offering this kind of money, of course, they're going to take it. You know what I mean? I think that was the only reason why they even agreed to even do this 60 days is because they offered this money. But they don't get this money right off anyway. This is in contingency if this plan is actually done after those 60 days. Now, on top of that, so we're talking about the Strait, and they said, okay, so for 60 days, the Strait of Hormuz is going to be open. Free commercial passage, no tolls during that period. So got to get a lot of ships in and out, you know what I mean, to be able to try to bring things back to normal. Now, the question that still remains is what happens after that 60 days? Do they continue to just keep it status quo just like it is, or are they going to try to put in this toll?
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
By a long shot. And I forget what the actual numbers came out to. I forget what if it was like 20 billion or 40 billion per year they'll be able to accumulate if they go through by being able to implement tolls through the, you know, the Strait. That's what is being, obviously that's speculation. But still, if they do implement something like that, I mean, that's going to affect the rest of our international waterways across the world. It would set a new standard because these straits are supposed to be international waterways for the world shipping, global economy on that kind of level. And so now that this is happening, it is jeopardizing quite a few things.
Mm-hmm. See, now so what happens? Okay, the first 60 days, everybody, they're going to send every ship they possibly can through there to get what they need to get and get out of there. Because once it gets close to that 60 days, you really don't know what's going to happen. So you don't know whether this plan is actually going to go through or is it going to bite the dust? Don't nobody know yet.
I'll give you my honest assessment, and then I'll let Aaron say whatever he wants to throw in this. Honestly, I do think that we're going to go through the 60 days where, you know, tolls, there's no tolls. The strait's open for, you know, 30, 40 days because they said within 30 days they have to open up the Strait. So it's within that amount of time. And then that MOU is only good for 60 days. So maybe 30, 40 days of good time of the Strait being open. And then they're not going to concede Iran. Iran's not going to concede on their nuclear program. Then the 60 days is going to run up, and then we're going to end up being at square one again, right before all this. So this is a loop that we're definitely in right now.
Right.
Well, to me, Iran basically offered us an out so we could get out of this war before it got much worse, and it was definitely going to get worse. We would have to have done them serious damage, which we're fighting a political war, and to my knowledge, we've never won a political war. Until we take the gloves off our armed forces and let them do what they got to do, we're not going to win much anymore. We're just going to do a dog and pony show. But we basically ceded the Strait to Iran. We gave the sovereignty of the Strait to Iran in this case. They could sit back with the gibberish and say, "Hey, look, we're going to open it up for international waters." That's BS. We ceded this thing over to Iran, and Iran is taking it. And let me go to item number 2 just for a second. I want to make a point on item number 2, and that was the U.S. and Iran will undertake to respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity, and to refrain from interfering in each other's internal affairs. What that says to me is Iran is basically telling us that we're going to kill the protesters. We got a large number of protesters. Remember, part of the reason why we got into this war was they killed 30 to 40,000 protesters with armored vehicles and machine guns. And they're basically telling us, you're going to stay out of our internal affairs. And we're basically, when we get everything signed here, whether it's in the news or we do a news blackout, we're going to kill these people.
Aaron,
So-
not only that, with that point you just are talking about, number 2 there, mutual sovereignty, that also is going to correlate with them being able to charge toll fees.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
That's their sovereignty. You know what I mean? And that's the way I also read it too.
So, again, if we were to do it, it would be war crimes, but they can do it, and it's their sovereign right to handle their protesters. So it's this way this whole thing reads just stinks to me, but it gave us an out, and we're taking it apparently. So, but the whole thing is one-sided, if you ask me. But I'll stop there.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that, because you think we jumped into something that we shouldn't have jumped in, and now you got to find a way to get out of it. So that you're going to take some hits. You're going to have to give away something that you're not going to want to do in order to, kind of save face, so to speak. And you got these other countries that if you look at what's going on, a lot of these countries are actually turning around and trying to make deals with Iran, because being the fact that they held the U.S. off like they have shows strength on their side. You know what I mean? So
Definitely.
Their thing was they didn't have to win. They didn't have to win militarily. Only thing they had to do was be able to
Threaten
to stand there and hold it down long enough for you to decide what you're going to do. Like we're home, we're right here. You got to come to us. You know what I mean? So as long as they were able to hold out, as long as they could hold out, then eventually what's going to happen? You're either going to run out and you're going to want to make a deal, or you just going to blow us all up. And we know that that's not what you're going to do. You know what I mean? Because there's too many other things at stake. So that it ain't like you can just go there and just drop something on them and keep going. That's not how that's being played. You can't do it. You know what I mean? So you're going to have to do one or two things. They know that they can leverage that. They know that without the strait, everybody's going to run out of oil. You know what I mean? You got several countries right now that's almost at tank bottom, which is like the level that's like your threshold level. Like, okay, we can't go below this right here, or we're gonna end up out completely. You have several countries that's already experiencing that as we speak. So they know that there's no other way that you're gonna get this oil right now unless you go through here. So you're gonna have to talk to us. You're gonna have to work out something. It's not gonna just be your way.
And
So
I'm sorry, go ahead, Bishop.
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
And
ahead.
then I
Go
was
ahead.
going to say, and then look at items 4 and 5. Everything in this agreement, like it says up on 4, upon signing the agreement, the U.S. will remove the naval blockade, and that's immediately. The U.S. will remove its forces from the proximity of Iran within 30 days. And then they're going to start letting some traffic go through there. Then 5 basically says after the signing, Iran will make its best efforts for safe passage of commercial vessels with no charge for 60 days. But then they also have to demine, so they're allowed to make their best effort. What is that exactly?
Yeah, that means they're going to stretch it out as long as humanly possible. So if
Right.
the MOU states that the strait needs to be opened up in 30 days, they're not going to open it up until that 30th day. That's what's going to end up happening here. And that's why I was saying the strait realistically is only going to be open for maybe from 28 to maybe 35 days total out of the 60 days.
And everything in this agreement says the United States has to do something immediately where Iran has time to negotiate or
Yep.
their best effort.
Yeah.
And the verbiage just kills me. I'm like,
Yes.
this is ridiculous. But hey,
Mhm.
we're looking to get out, so we're gonna take it.
Damn it.
Yeah, but sometimes looking for a way out, you know what I mean? You're gonna end up getting kicked in the ass. This 14 points right here, that's just what this is. It's a kick in the ass. For real.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And if now, at first, when they first started talking about this agreement, they didn't even bring out exactly what this agreement was. They didn't tell anyone. Not even Congress knew what was in these 14 until when we found out. When we found out, they found out. You know what I mean? So, a lot of them is not liking this. You take Lindsey Graham, all you know what I mean, the big warmongers, they hating this agreement right now. You know what I mean? Now, I do disagree with the blockade being completely gone. You know what I mean? Being the fact that, like I just said before, neither side trusts each other. So why would I take my forces completely out the way? I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really trust you. You know what I mean? So I could agree to a particular distance from Iran, but to completely take them away, nah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do that. The another part that we're gonna have to think about here is where Israel is concerned, because they're definitely not liking this whole situation that's going on.
Of course not. Staunchly against.
Right. So Israel believes that the nuclear program represents an existential threat. And their leaders argue that even temporary sanction relief could actually strengthen Iran, not weaken them. That gives them plenty of time to be able to recoup, get everything back on track the way they were from the beginning. Additional resources could fund military expansion and cause pressure that could allow Iran to advance their capabilities. Israel also fears that once this money starts flowing back into Iran, that leverage is lost, and a lot of the supporters on that side argue that the alternative to that is war, because without diplomacy, military confrontation becomes it becomes likely that that will take place, and this creates one of the biggest disagreements between Washington and Jerusalem right now, and it's been the biggest disagreement that has happened in years. So, like I said, you have a lot of these politicians right now that actually is pro Israel that's sounding off on this. They totally don't agree with these 14 points. Any takers on that one?
I would agree 100%. And this whole thing reads as though Lebanon is going to be protected which means their proxies will be protected. Every 2 to 4 years, their proxies are shooting missiles and bombing and doing terrorist activities against Israel under direction of Iran and supplied and trained by Iran. Iran just got smart and didn't use their own people anymore. They're going to use somebody else to be the bullet stops, and people are willing to do it. And Israel, they're sick of it. I mean, since I was young, all the way up till now, 6-day war going all the way up till now. There ain't a 5 years go by that they ain't being attacked by their so-called Arab neighbors. And sooner or later, you just get sick of it. And Israel's reached that point. And Israel will not accept Iran having a nuclear bomb, no matter what. That item 8 discusses Iran not going to advance their stuff. I mean, can we actually trust them? They've been advancing to what, 80% of their
60.
nuclear enriched 60%
60.
nuclear
Yeah.
enrichment. Can we trust that they're not going to go to next 20? They
Right.
didn't need to go above 20. So they keep creeping, they keep sneaking, they keep doing.
Well,
can't
Iran
be-
actually played it very smart with their enrichment. They enriched to 60 on purpose for negotiations. They were like, hey, look, we're stopping here for right now because we got the world watching us anyways. Here we go. We're just going to be chilling at 60, showing you we can do this, and this is going to be a negotiation tactic. And that's exactly what happened too.
Well, I feel a little bit stronger on the subject because we know that China gave them certain missiles that can definitely reach Europe, and Russia gave them Sarmat missile, which is called Satan II, that can hit anything in the world, including the United States. So why would you need a missile that can reach that far unless you're not going to put a nuke on it? You're sure not going to put a conventional warhead on it. So why would you need a Sarmat 2 or what they call Satan 2 missile? So I don't think they can be trusted. They're negotiating and lying through their teeth, and they're going to continue to lie from the beginning of history up till now. They've been a warring country trying to take over and spread through I don't want to say Islam, but that's what they're doing. They're trying to spread their faith. They're trying to take over. And if they can take over politically, they'll do it like they did with Hezbollah in Iran. In Iraq.
Lebanon.
And they also, well, they got almost half of Iraq. Hezbollah does. Islamic Jihad's got another percentage. And then the Iranian military has the rest. They can't even push Hezbollah out of Iraq. They got them in Lebanon. There's just so much going on here. And they keep doing it. They keep providing and training terrorist groups. They sent missiles, or was trying to send missiles over to Venezuela. They did send drones that could reach Florida and some of the Gulf Coast states to help Cuba and Venezuela against the United States. So when people are making those kind of moves and they're showing you who they are, why are you listening to the words that come out of their mouth when their actions indicate something totally different? But I'll stop there.
Let's bring this up now. You know, everybody's talking about this deal now. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure that's on every news outlet there is right now because it's just been signed.
Facts.
So everybody's talking about what these 14 points are, and they're giving their pros and cons as to whether they agree with it, disagree with it, whatever. Let's go one step further. Let's talk about what happens if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So your possibilities at that point is that your oil, of course, oil is going to spike again. Your military strikes resume, bombing resumes. You got new sanctions that pops up. The whole shipping insurance rates, now they're going to drop now for these 60 days, but of course, that's going to skyrocket.
It's temporary. Yeah.
Right, right. So we really, when you're dealing with like gas prices right now, it's been basically fluctuating according to the market. We know that. We've talked about that several times. The grocery prices, we haven't actually seen the actual big spikes on the groceries yet because crops haven't came in yet. So once those crops and stuff come up, midsummer into fall, that's when you're gonna start seeing all that because we've had all these months here. You had fertilizer shortage, you had helium shortages, you had all all of that was the sulfur, all that was going on. So crop yields are going to be low, which is going to skyrocket the prices for not having the proper
fertilizer
to be able to go to be able to do what you need to do. And yeah, like somebody just said, the gas prices is going down. Yeah, it is for now. It's
just manipulated.
Right, they've been going up and down for the longest. If you watch, then you see how he was talking about how they manipulate that every single day.
Hold on real quick on that. The market never actually reflects the business. Okay. What it always reflects is human emotion. Remember that.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the reason. That's the reason how you go to the gas station today and it's $3.50 and then tomorrow it's $3.75. They didn't get a gas truck overnight. I mean, they pencil whipping that. You know what I mean? That's the same thing they've been doing to a lot of this. But that's not the actual the price that you see, or the price that you see where it's like, oh no, oil is $76 a gallon, oil is $86 a gallon. That is not the actual price. That's not the Brent price. You know what I mean? Because you got to add in everything else. You know what I mean? You got to add in the shipping costs, the loading fees, the travel. Now that they're not going through the strait, what are they doing? They're going all the way down from Africa, coming all the way back around. All that stuff adds up into that final Brent price. That's the actual price of oil. I mean,
yeah. Missiles grab headlines, but tanker routes always change economies. And look, this is exactly what AB was talking about. This is right this second. This is shipping lanes. So this marine vessel traffic, right? And it does show most of these are going all the way around down below South Africa, which we've shown before during this conflict on this show. But do you know how much money it costs to make that kind of route compared to just going through the strait? Meaning the Yemen Strait over here. Right now, because Yemen is overruled by the Yemen Houthi rebels, and they are part of the Axis of Resistance with Iran. So them having to go all the way around, instead of them just cutting right through and being right a part of Europe right here, they have to go all the way around. I mean, we're talking, so much money, it's unreal. When it comes down to oil, that's what changed economies.
And then I'd like to add to that. Let's say the Saudis decide to ship us a boat today full of oil. We can't continue to fund our domestic market out of our oil reserves. We deplete it trying to sell oil to the world. And we're going to have to fill that back up at great expense, seeing that oil is going to be so much higher right now than what it was when we bought it. With what they're doing, if a boat left from Saudi Arabia right now to get to the United States, it's going to be almost 2 months before that first oil shipment arrives here. And I want to add one other thing too, that item 13. I love the wording, subject to clause that they got in there. And it basically reads as this: after the signing and subject to the beginning of the implementation of paragraphs 1, 4, 5, 10, and 11 of the agreement, the U.S. and Iran will start negotiating regarding the final deal exclusively on the other paragraphs. So Iran can back out of this deal at any point in time if the United States doesn't come through on paragraph 1, paragraph 4, paragraph 5, paragraph 10, and paragraph 11. Everything's got us doing something, and they ain't got to do nothing but just bide their time. And with that, they have a subject to clause. They can back out of this deal at any point in time if we don't fulfill the obligation on those what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs. We don't fulfill our obligation quickly, then they have a right to back out and take us right back to where we were at. And I'm like, this is damn. I don't know. I need to keep my mouth shut. But that subject to clauses always lets the other side out. All you got to do is slip up and not make progress fast enough to make the other side happy. If it ain't fast enough, they're out. And then go back to enriching uranium, making EMP weapons, anything that they want, if we don't fulfill those 5 paragraphs quickly.
Right.
Immediately.
See, that was one of the things that we were talking about a while ago, that when they first started talking about, when they first put out the 10-point and then the 12-point plans and different stuff, when they were going back and forth, and we was talking about it on the show one night, and we said that everything that they had on that plan was not a benefit to us at all. And that if you agreed to any of that, I think I'm the one that said it, that if we agreed to anything on that on that plan that they put out, that would be considered a loss. And that's exactly what they did. They basically agreed to just about everything that was on the initial plan. Yeah, they may have put in a couple they just changed the wording on some of it, but it's all basically about the same. The overall structure of it is the same. I understand the fact that now they're trying to get out of this, and sure, get out of it. You realize that you shouldn't have did this in the first place. We didn't have this to do. The strait was already open. We didn't have an issue dealing with that. Now you got it to where, okay, they're going to be cool for 60 days, but then now you're going to have to start paying them a toll. How are you going to get away from that? You know what I mean? Because if after these 60 days and your final agreement is to where they're still collecting a toll, that's going to be a problem. I mean, now, even if they decided like, okay, well, we're not going to make a nuclear weapon and we'll go back to whatever agreement that you have set up. Because like I said, doing these negotiations, they haven't had any nuclear specialists, anybody over there even dealing with this. They're now primarily talking about the strait. And if you remember, it went from regime change to nuclear, then the strait. Not all three combined. You know what I mean? This here is basically, let's just open up the strait and then we'll talk about everything else later. But the stuff that we was talking about everything later was at first the most important part. That was the reasoning for going there in the first place. But that one you got set to the side. Let's just worry about opening up the strait right now. Let's just do this right now. You know what I mean?
Because that's where the global pressure is, for sure.
Right. So you giving up basically $300 billion to rebuild, plus opening up another 24 to 25 billion on this end, and any other sanctions you're going to lift. This is just for the strait. We ain't even talking about the nuke yet. We talking about just the strait.
Yep, and that's the part that we already know that the IRGC is not going to concede unless they get paid mega.
Right. We just talking about the strait. Hell, the people in Greenland, did you see that the other day? People in Greenland was like, hell, if that's the deal you offering, well, shit, come on up here and bomb up here then. We changed our mind. Come on up here and do that. That's what they said. Come on up here and do that. Since you're giving out deals like this, come on over here, bomb the shit out of it, and help us like you helping them. You know what I mean? Now tell me that's not a smack in the face. You know what I mean?
I didn't hear that, but that is wild, actually. That's actually wild.
Right. Tell me that's not a total smack in the face. You're gonna give them all that? You're gonna give them all that just to open up the strait? Like I said, we're not even talking about the nuclear deal right now. You push that to the side, but that was supposed to have been your main thing. That was the reason why we bombed earlier last year. Nuke. This is supposed to be the primary thing. Nuke. Primary thing. Now, we'll talk about that later. Let's just
Later.
straight. Yeah, let's just deal with the straight. But we're gonna give you all of this just for you to do this for 60 days. We're gonna give you this. Like, come on now. Come on now.
Yeah.
So you can't actually stand there with a straight face and say, we won. You did not.
No, of
you
course
did not. You did not. But that also shows that even though we are, quote, quote, the strongest country in the world
On a military front.
just showed you something. It just exposed you. That's exactly what that did. It exposed you. That what you can and cannot do, and the only thing that we got to do, you sit here and you done spent $70 billion bombing us, and we done withstood it.
Well, that's truly why with Iran in the last 47 years, we haven't attacked them, because they are a unique situation that they can win on a geographical scale. And that's exactly what they proved. They proved it to everybody. That they can, all they have to do, because for them to actually implement shutting down the strait, quote unquote, it's very simple. It only needs a threat. It doesn't even need enforcement even. It just needs a threat. So think about it. If ship owners and insurance companies are hearing, yeah, the IRGC is threatening that if anyone comes through here, that drones are going to attack our ships, our cargo. Yeah, we're not going through that shit. Of course not. You know, that's how easy it is to shut down something like that. And they win on a geographical scale because they live right there. That's their whole coastline.
Right.
Yeah, that's gonna be one. But you know what though? There's something else that I was just now thinking about, even dealing with this. And this is probably something that nobody else has even thought about, because we're just talking about right now, just opening up the strait and the deal between the U.S. and Iran. But what is China and Russia getting out this deal?
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
Because China buys a large amount of Middle Eastern oil, and their biggest concern was us interfering with their interrupted energy supply. Russia benefits from the oil price rise, but it also benefits when the U.S. is distracted in the Middle East. So that's also another thing that you have to think about as well, because even though we may be focused over here, there's always something else going on this other side. You know what I mean? And then now you got this whole G7 summit that's going on over right now. Of course, there. I heard on some that it's going well. I heard on some that it's, like everybody just kind of like status quo. Nobody's actually bringing up nothing big. Everybody just kind of well.
No, the only one that's really doing big conversation is Trump right now. Everyone's allowing this whole thing in France going on right now before they were supposed to go to Geneva across, the little way right there, because it's right next to each other. But yeah, it's been Trump, the whole thing. I mean, I've been covering actually the Geneva event, the G7 event, I should call it. I've been covering the G7 for the last couple of days, and it really has been a Trump thing. They're going to be talking a lot about what's going on with the United States. Now, there were conversations, about Russia, Ukraine, and there was conversations about stuff like that. But primarily it was regards to Trump, United States, Iran, stuff like that. Middle East in general.
Right.
Well, I personally, I'm sorry, Bishop. Go ahead, man.
Go ahead.
Well,
Go ahead.
Real quick, I forgot one thing on that. And speaking of, I actually broke the news a few days ago about, well, actually, I think it was 2 days ago, but it was yesterday. I'm sorry. What am I thinking? My days get all mixed up. Nonetheless, Qatar just offered or confirmed $1 trillion+ investment. So that now brings us to a staggering $29 trillion of foreign investments into the United States, which is, unheard of. So I got to give accolades where accolades are due. And that is one thing that he does extremely, extremely well at.
Well, I'm going to say that we had to get out of this war because we got China next year in 2027. China made it clear they're retaking Taiwan in 2027. So we're burning up a lot of our smart munitions right now. We've got a lot of our military assets overseas. We only got 2 carrier task groups over there protecting Taiwan right now. We got one off the coast of California that they hope can get there in time in case Taiwan comes across there. Taiwan's been trying to buy weapons. Our military told them to quit messing around with what they're trying to buy and buy a bunch of drones, because they could send the drones out into the water and sink them ships as they're coming over across that waterway. So I guess Taiwan is switching up and trying to buy some drones right now. But if we're tied up in the Middle East, we wouldn't be able to stop China from taking Taiwan. That would be out of the question. And seeing that we got to fight them next year, possibly, and it's beginning to look more and more like we will, we can't be tied up nowhere. We're going to have our hands full fighting them over Taiwan. And that's if they go through with this. I hope we don't see that, but right now they're still saying 2027 they're taking that place.
Mm-hmm. But you know what? You're gonna have a bigger struggle with that, being the fact that you have to replenish everything that you've already done used.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Not to mention the countries that had already paid for weapons that you was like, no, we ain't sending you these right now because we got to use them. You got to take care of those orders too, and then still replenish your own stockpile that you going through. I mean, China already knows that. That's the reason why Xi told Trump when he was there to back away from Taiwan. He told him that, but then he told him on top of that, not only did he want him to back away from Taiwan, but he wanted him to say it publicly that he was going to back away from Taiwan.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But there is an actual agreement that was signed by the U.S. government to Taiwan to protect them from the Chinese. So
right, but as you know, as that recent meeting that just happened with Xi, yes, they did talk about the strait and how Xi thinks yes, the strait needs to be open. That's one side of the equation, but the main concern, what he actually was there to really talk about on his side, was regards to Taiwan. And he realized, Trump realized real quick that is the one thing, and I've said this on this channel before, or on this show, Diamond Effect, before, that, listen, this is the one thing I'm willing to basically go full on World War III with. So, we're not willing to attack you in many other ways aside from economically. We're going to get you if you're willing to do this. This is the one thing we're prepared for this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is gonna be an interesting 60 days. I mean, of course, we're gonna follow it and we're gonna report it as we see it going through. But this is gonna be interesting. And the reason why I'm saying that is because you have a couple factors is there. Number one, you got the 60-day where everybody's supposed to make nice for these 60 days. Personally, I think Israel's going to go against the grain. I think they're going to go against the grain simply because they're like, okay, you made a deal with them. I didn't make nothing with them.
Well,
Right.
And also
You know what I mean?
because of Hezbollah and truly their rivalry between each other, because that is the direct Iranian hit from Iran, essentially, is Hezbollah. I mean, that's the whole thing. And that's been going on for a long, long time. And that feud is, that's something that is not going to just all of a sudden end overnight. And what we have been seeing, objectively, we have been seeing that Hezbollah has been attacking Israel, and very low level attacks, right? A few one-way drones, a couple of missiles that went up. But trust me, Israel, when they're not bombarded by missiles coming from Iran, not coming from Lebanon and Yemen, then they can just deal with that shit. They just shoot it down. And then those drones, same thing, if they don't just crash into the sand somewhere. You know what I mean? So that whole thing is going to be interesting watching, because right now Iran has been, or Hezbollah, well, essentially Iran, has been poking the bear, which is Israel, and they have done the last 2 attacks on Israel has been started again by Hezbollah. And I mean, listen, I'm the first one to say, you know, when that doesn't happen, but I objectively tell it just like what it is, what factually happens. And that's what they're doing. They're doing one little tiny thing. And then you see what ended up happening from those little tiny attacks that happened. Israel over responds, goes into Beirut and bombs apartment buildings. And they go and start taking out, you know, big head figures of Hezbollah and all that stuff. So that's what we're seeing. I mean, we even saw Trump at the G7 summit, I mean, go completely off on Israel this morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be, he's going to catch the backlash on that on both sides.
Uh-huh. You're right about that.
He's going to catch it on Israel's side, because they already said that his since he done agreed to do this deal, that his actual approval ratings in Israel is like minus like 23. Like they're furious with him right now.
Yeah, he used to be like 99%, you know, acceptance
Right.
rate, you know, over there.
Right.
Yeah.
So you went from that to minus 23. Not to mention your counterparts over here on Capitol Hill, you got a lot of them that's pro-Israel, that's going to be totally against this. So now you got it to where, you know, now your own people that you got over here looking at you sideways too. You know what I mean? And I think they're probably looking more at JD than they is at Trump, because JD was the one that orchestrated this. You know what I mean? He was the one that was going back and forth over there. So a lot of them was saying like they don't even know whether if Trump actually read the whole thing, or was he just going with what they were saying? They were like, oh yeah, it's a good deal, go ahead and sign it. You know, because I think you remember he did an interview about a week ago where he said JD was over there orchestrating this deal. If it goes south, it's his fault. If it works out, then I'll take full credit for it. So he was over. Yeah, so JD is actually the one that was over orchestrating this. He the one that actually made this deal. You know what I mean? So how this ends up becoming, whether it's going to be a good thing or a bad thing, it's all going to pretty much focus on him. If it goes bad, his name's mud. If it goes good, oh yeah, he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I just don't see it going that way though. I don't see this personally. Like I said, I don't want to see us go to war. I do not want to see us go to war. I think we've done enough. We've spent enough money over there. We need to just get rid of it.
I already agree with you. I know exactly where you're going.
Do your deal however you're going to do it, because any deal that you do is going to be bad because you didn't have this when you went into it. So
what we want compared to what's going to actually happen is different. Right.
You're not going to get what you want.
Well,
I do not see this agreement happening.
That's exactly what I mean.
I do not see a final agreement happening.
We're going to see at the end of 60 days where the strait was open for, you know, let's say 24 to 35 days or whatever in that range. After that, we don't come to a conclusion with the nuclear program. We're going to end up being at square one again, and we're going to go right back to what we were doing.
Yep. That's what I see. I don't see no actual agreement dealing with this. I do not see it being signed. I don't see it.
And I'm going to add to that just a little history. Hamas was the one that got this whole thing started under direction of Iran, supplying them with weapons when they invaded Israel, took hostages, and some of those hostages died in their care. A large percentage of them did. And they didn't care what nation hostages they took. And they took them back to their country and kept firing missiles at Israel. Israel went in there at them and has destroyed them so badly that they're combat ineffective right now. Now they want to make Hamas combat ineffective. But now that we done backed off the pressure on Iran, how long will it be before Iran sends hypersonic missiles into Hamas into Gaza and to the Hezbollah in Iraq and Lebanon, because we all saw that Israel couldn't shoot those down. So if they can get that asset, they've got a viable tool to make Israel bleed. Will Israel allow that to happen? Will they give them time to rearm and get the very weapons that they can't stop? And then after Hamas attacked Israel, Iran in 2024 attacked Israel for hitting their proxy Hamas. And Israel was not prepared to fight that war against Iran. So they said, we reserve the right to retaliate later. So when people say that Israel started this war, no. I got a memory. I can go back and trace where this went and where it started and who did what. And
it doesn't start at 2023. You know what I
right.
mean?
So
It actually
this
goes
way
further.
back in history.
Yeah.
I mean, under Babylon, the Israelis were what, slaves for what, 1,000 years? And in 1,000 years, they were slaves under the Egyptians. So, but Iran's been a problem since the beginning of time. They fought the Greeks, they fought the Romans, they fought the Byzantines, they fought the what they call them people at the Battle of Thermopylae, the Spartans. They fought the Spartans. They've been fighting everybody, trying to take over, trying to run stuff, and eventually they get their butts kicked. But now they then got smart. They use proxies to carry out their agenda.
Absolutely.
And now, if I was Israel, if I had the ability to tear them up, I would tear Hezbollah's ass up. There's no way I'd let them exist. And whatever rock they're hiding under, whatever city or town they're hiding under, I'd warn that town, you need to get out of there because we're getting ready to bomb that place. If you want to stay around and be a human shield, that's on you. You're free to make whatever, let me say this, you're free to make whatever choice you want, but you are not free of the consequences of your choices.
Sure. Absolutely.
I'll stop there.
And I got to agree with that. That whole thing with Hezbollah and Israel is way super deep. I mean, their ties and, well, I should say their opposition outlook. I understand why the resentment. I understand why I mean, all of it. I understand why it's actually happening. I mean, this goes further than what we're just seeing on a surface level, right? Like this goes super deep on all of it. I mean, the Middle East really does. I mean, imagine if we were in the United States getting missile attacked, nonstop, one-way drones and all that shit. Yeah, we would live a different ideology. We would. So I have to be empathetic in those kind of aspects, right? So I have to be realistic about stuff. But anyways, yeah, no, it's definitely a wild scene out there for damn sure.
Mm-hmm. Just sitting here thinking about this, and we was talking about, Aaron just brought up the fact about history. So the way I see it, history may not remember the overall signing of this agreement and what all transpired to sign this agreement, but history will remember what happens after this.
Yeah.
So in the next 60 days, we'll produce a real live settlement. This could be diplomatic, it could be an overall breakthrough, or it could be chaos. Now, if it's not chaos, then historians may look back on this and on that moment, and they say that this is nothing more than a pause between the chapters. This was just a hiccup in the road in the pages of history. If it goes bad, on the other hand, this is a whole new chapter to God knows what, because we don't know what that ending will be. Like I said, we all have our opinions as to what we think is going to be based on looking at these 14 points and realizing that there is no win for you if you go along with this. I mean, this is something like, okay, we'll deal with this for right now. Yeah, we'll sign this for right now. Open up the strait, get some oil flowing back through. Basically tell all the oil companies, you better get your ass over and get all you can get in these 60 days, because I just don't see it being a guaranteed thing. I really don't. But we will, like I said, we will see. We will keep our eye on it, and we will, of course, let you guys know as we learn it. Like I said, I hope that something can be worked out. But just from what we're looking out here and being able to read between the lines, you know what I mean? Not as being a critical thinker and actually looking at this and looking at what these words are saying actually and what's behind a lot of these words and some of them, it's a full-blown setup. And it's a setup on our end because anything that we do will be considered as wrong to be a revolt against this agreement in the first place. So, so like I said, we're gonna keep our eye on that, and we'll keep everybody informed. But before we close, I'm gonna go ahead and say my thing, and then Aaron, he has something that he wants to bring up, and then just as soon as Aaron is done, Mike, close it out. So like I said, thank everybody for coming. Like always, hit that like button. And so we had a lot of people on here tonight watching, and we don't see it on the like side. Now I'm looking at these numbers here, and we had good numbers tonight of people that was on here watching, but it's not reflecting over here. You see that little thumb right there on the side? Hit that. It takes you 2 seconds. If that, hit that thumb. That gets us out here on the proper algorithm. Be able to get this out to many people as possible. You know what I mean? This is what we've been doing. This is our job for the week. You know what I mean? Get this information and get it out. It takes us longer than a week to get it all together, but every week we dive into these stories because this is stuff that you need to know. This is stuff that's going to keep you above water, so to speak. When everybody else wants you to drown, we're going to put out this information to keep you afloat. So thank you all, like always. Go ahead, Aaron.
Okay. What I want people to realize is something I'm getting ready to discuss that's probably the cheapest survival equipment that you would buy or items that you would have on hand. And I strongly recommend it. Basically, when you see a family that says that they've had disease throughout their family, diabetes, high blood pressure, whatever, is it actually due to it being hereditary? Is it more due to the eating habits that the people have? Okay. If you eat quality food, your health should be good. If you're eating processed food all the time, then diabetes, high blood pressure, hypertension, not all these things is in your near future. So by saying that, Mike is going to play a video for me, and this video is going to show what the ruling elites is planning right now. And then I want to discuss with you having a seed bank. Mike, go ahead and roll it. It's about 2 minutes.
Here we go.
We are slowly getting rid of all seed.
I don't know why it cut out. Let me restart it. Hold on, give me a second. Of course, it glitches.
Getting rid of all seeds in fruits and vegetables. And honestly, it's brilliant because once every apple, grape, watermelon, and tomato is seedless, guess who controls life itself? No more planting your own food. No more saving seeds for next season. Everything you eat, everything that grows, will come from our labs. And when the last natural seed is gone, that's when it gets fun. We can make them rare, expensive, maybe even licensed. Only billionaires that will have gardens, and everyone else will have to subscribe to eat. Sounds insane, right? But it's already happening. Seedless isn't convenience, it's containment. Every time you pick up a seedless fruit, you're holding a future that can't reproduce. So yeah, expect more seedless, everything. Because the easiest way to control the world is to stop it from growing. So remember to stay safe out there.
That's fact.
Okay. I hope you found that shocking, that's how they see us. When you go to the grocery store right now and you're buying fruits and vegetables, in order to get something with seeds in it, you have to buy organic, and then you got to pay more money for it. And they say, well, hey, I'm eating a seedless watermelon. What you're eating is GMO, genetically modified organism, where those plant seeds was created in labs. And what you should be getting is a seed bank right now. I'll show you mine. This is nothing but a case that you keep football or baseball cards in. And I have the pages that I plastic
wow.
sheets I put in there.
No
And
shit.
I have seeds. Now, what I like about this system is it keeps it organized. I can go through this and I can see what I'm short on and what I need. But you don't have to be nothing this elaborate. You can just have you an old container from Christmas cookies and just buy you packets of seeds. Now, what's the benefit of having a seed bank? It preserves genetic material for future generations. The seeds you should be looking for would be heirloom seeds. Why are they called heirloom? Because they're passed down through generations of their family. You have the Amish, you have German Baptists, you have the Quakers. They've been passing these seeds down. Even the people from Italy that came over here to grow wine, they brought those plants from that's been handed down through generations of their family to bring over here because they know the quality of the fruit it's going to produce and they know how good the wine is going to be. They're not trying to grow something from scratch. They're sticking with what is produced throughout their family. Now, what's another reason to have a seed bank? It acts as an insurance policy for future agriculture and food supply. Food is getting more expensive, whether it's Mother Nature with El Nino that's going on right now, that's changing climate in America, that's going to create drought, create fires and different things that will impact food. Stronger hurricanes because the Pacific Ocean is warming, bigger tornadoes and things. Hotter temperatures in 2026 and 2027 than what we're used to seeing, which again affects plants because plants have to grow in a certain climate. Also, in a disaster, that food bank or seed bank allows large-scale reintroduction of plants back into an ecosystem. You get a drought that just decimates the fields, and then following year, the climate changes. You can regrow that. You get a fire that rakes over an area and burns everything down. How are you going to get those plants to regrow unless you come in with seeds and reintroduce those plants to that environment? Now, with heirloom seeds or what they call heritage seeds, that's what you should be looking for. That's what you will want to acquire. You'll have, they're more prone, now this is the negative, they're more prone to diseases and insects because they're natural plants. They got seeds in them, they're made by God. Anything don't have seeds in it is made by man. That's the rule of thumb I go by. You will make repeated generations of plants. I mean, I can hand seeds down to my daughter, and she can hand those seeds from those plants down to her grandchildren. And each generation that comes will have seeds that they can grow their own food because the ruling elite is about to take that right away from you. They want you dependent upon their system, not you being self-dependent. Then you have hybrid seeds. Those seeds, oh, well, let me say this last thing about heirloom. Heirloom seeds, you can go online and you can get what they call heirloom vault between $29 to $60, depending upon if it has 25 packets of seeds to 50 different varieties of seeds. That's what you're going to pay, $29 to $60. That should be affordable to guarantee your future and future generations of your family. Hybrid seeds are between $2 a pack to $6 a pack. They're more hardy. They're made to be more resistant. They're to like plant diseases and to insects. But to make them reproduce, they have to go through a special process so that they will turn into what they call pollinators to make future generations. You might get 1 or 2 generations off of hybrid seeds, but then after that, something starts to happen to them because they're not designed for repeated generations. Then you have GMO seeds, which I can tell you right now, they're totally created in labs. They're designed to withstand herbicides, weather, and insects. They will grow even in bad and drought conditions. They have specific GMO plants that will grow in drought environments, but they basically will not create future generations. It don't matter what you do with them. And as far as the backyard gardeners such as myself They will not sell GMO seeds to me for backyard gardens. Those are reserved for the corporate farms and the big farms because they want to put that food out to many people. Now, keep in mind, in recent years, both Russia and China, through two particular companies, I think it was Cargill and Monsanto, out of their countries. It could be somebody else. I might be wrong on that, but they threw them out and they told them to take them GMO plants with them, and they used flamethrowers to burn down the existing corn crops and stuff because they found out that GMO plants in long term cause cancer in persons' bodies. Now, what's the way to depopulate the world short of a nuclear bomb or a pandemic? Food. Slow motion poison.
Same
If
thing
they-
with water.
Yeah. You either have to slow down the birth rate or you speed up the death rate or a combination of both, and you can lower a country's population. They're trying to control food to reduce the population down to controllable numbers and make you totally reliant upon them. It don't take nothing to grow a couple tomato plants in 2 buckets. You want to have 2 plants of the same thing so that they can pollinate each other when the bees come. But start learning those skills now. Start putting back some seeds. And Mike, if you don't mind, give me picture number 1, please.
Sure. Here
And
goes.
we're gonna put these pictures on the Diamond Effect page. Right there,
Right.
when you buy seeds, that's the shelf life that you're going to have. Now, can you go beyond that? Yes, if you freeze seeds, and you can Google it, you can do whatever. Freezer storage of seeds is good, especially if you're going to have the seeds for more than 1 year. But that right there, and that we're going to put that on the Diamond Effect page, will tell you how long, and so you know when you got to recycle and rotate your seed packets. Mike, go to number 2, please. For those of you that want to know how long does it take for something to grow to where I can eat it, here's your list. And it's pretty accurate because I'm a backyard gardener, and I can tell you that that's pretty on point. So if you was to say, well, right now it's July, is this too late? I live up north where we're going to have a bad winter. Is it too late to have a garden? As you can see, some of these are just 30 to 90 days. Some of them could go to 4 months. You got July, August, September, October. October's your month to go out and harvest. You got time to put something in, even if it's a late garden. You still got time. Mike, give me picture number 3. If you're looking to build a survival garden, the plants that you see up here will give you enough nutrients to get you through the winter months. All you have to learn how to do is store them. And that's the one in the middle at the top, the sweet potatoes. They have so much nutrients in them, you can almost survive on them by themselves. But what you see there is a good basic list to start with, and it's not that hard to grow. But people, wake up. They have plans. They got these 15-minute cities. They're getting ready to take your right to even be able to have a garden away from you. If you don't have seeds, how can you grow anything? You're totally reliant upon them to give you a handout. When you start producing for yourself, you start exhibiting some sort of independence. You start gaining knowledge that they can't take from you, that you can hand down through generations of your family. Self-reliance is going to be the key. And with that, I'll stop.
All right. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I can't thank you guys enough for hanging out with us this evening. Make sure you guys go over to the Diamond Effect YouTube podcast. I dropped it into the chat, by the way, multiple times. I'll put it there again. Listen, man, I can't thank these gentlemen enough for their knowledge and their due diligence, research, all of it, man. This is keeping up on this, like AB was saying, actually, is it takes, I mean, X amount of time, a whole week to do this show. But here's the thing about it. It's not like the facts come out and then that's it last week and we study that. This is ever changing hour by hour. I mean, we literally came onto the show and 45 minutes prior, Trump signed the MOU over there in France when we thought this was all going to be signed in Geneva over there on Friday. So we have to constantly be on top of it, watching what's breaking, what's happening. So I can't thank both of you guys enough for your amount of knowledge and history and background knowledge that you guys bring to the table. It's just amazing. Great conversations as always. Listen, if you guys are on my side, make sure you guys stick around. We're going to be rating our buddy Finding Gnosis. Let them know we're coming through with the Mike Ball raid. But anyways, aside from that, listen, God bless everyone. We'll see you guys here in 7 days. Much love, honor, respect to everybody.
Goodbye.